to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trash the pieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we're here for a very special episode today.
Very special. Number 200.
200 episodes.
200 times we have sat here and discussed films.
Yes.
Shit films. Great films. Meh films.
Yeah. The masterpieces, trash pieces, and basics of genre cinema.
Yes, that is very,
With
very
some
true.
film festivals thrown in. We discussed a lot on this podcast.
We talked some shit.
We have. And people still listen to us, so that's great.
Yes, thank you very much.
I know we say this every single time we hit a milestone, but I genuinely mean it every time I say it, and thank you for listening to us chat shit.
Yes, thank you very much. Very much appreciated. It's nice to know that we're not talking to dead air.
Yes.
Although I think we probably would continue even if no one was listening.
You know, we reach one person that enjoys it. That's what
we like to give our opinions.
Yeah, we like to talk. We're also introducing a new format today. So with episode 200, we thought we'd bring in some changes, including the third podcast member, a new microphone.
Yes. We're going posh on this, not just Gary's phone anymore.
Well, I mean, everyone should be impressed that up until now, this great quality has been on my mobile phone. But this is even better. We've gone legit now.
We have gone legit. We've shown our tits and gone legit.
Absolutely. But episode 200, a new format. We will explain which section is which for this first episode. And then after that, you can get a picture. I mean, it's self-explanatory. But yes, we are here today to discuss one of our favourite films by one of our favourite filmmakers. A film that featured on our first logo. A film that just, I'd say it means a lot to both of us, really.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
We are, of course, discussing the ultimate cult film, trash made into masterpiece. We are discussing Pink Flamingos from 1972, written and directed by John Waters, who you will know from previous podcast episodes, Serial Mum, Hairspray, Polyester. He's made some absolute classics. This was made on a budget of $12,000 and it made $7 million at the box office.
Yes.
So Pink Flamingos.
Pink Flamingos, the ultimate midnight movie, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
The ultimate queer cinema classic.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe just what this film has kind of meant to me.
Yeah.
And it's not an acceptance speech, I'm not going to cry. But in terms of, delving deep into underground cinema, cult cinema, low budget shit that I love and adore, this really was the one. This was it. When I watched it, I thought, oh my god, I am horrified and I am so intrigued and excited.
Yeah.
Not sexually, but excited to really get to grips with this kind of film. I love it. I was so entertained, and it's my kind of film. Is it for everyone? Absolutely fucking not.
No.
I wouldn't put it on, with my mum, little family gathering. I wouldn't put it on. But in terms of my taste level, this is, it's up there. Yeah. It really is.
Absolutely. And it's got that classic John Waters satirical touch to it where if you weren't aware of what John Waters does or his type of filmmaking or his humour, going into this, especially from a 2022 perspective, you would think he's trying to be the most offensive, edgy filmmaker out there. But when you're familiar with his films, it really helps, and it's what makes it work.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and I think sometimes it gets bunched together with films that are deliberately provocative without any real cause or meaning.
Yeah.
Whereas this film is very provocative, absolutely, but there's a message behind it, and it's something that I love, a sort of subversion of Americana and American culture. You know, from a personal perspective, I watched Blue Velvet. You know, I thought it was the greatest film ever because I loved that subversion of that American ideal.
Yeah.
And this is very much in keeping with that. And I love American cinema that does that.
Yeah. And it's also the influences behind this film are interesting, which we will mention a little later on. But just as a little tidbit now, you know, the whole thing kind of feels like if Herschel Gordon Lewis collaborated with Douglas Sirk.
Yeah,
you know, and that's incredible.
Oh my God.
That's incredible. And the film itself, Pink Flamingos, has been influential itself in many ways across pop culture. You know, maybe not specific, having some films over time, but not specifically just on films. But even, you know, this launched Divine as a massive drag persona. Even if Divine didn't look at himself as a drag queen, still made a massive impact. And, you know, you can still see that to this day. But there's never been a film made like this to this very day.
No.
There's nothing else like this.
No. Yeah, I'm glad you discussed Douglas Sirk there because I forgot just the idea of the melodrama.
Yeah.
You know,
so melodramatic.
So melodramatic. So camp. You know, let's get into it and discuss the film even further than we just have.
Well, first of all, we have a new section called Hey, I Know You. Not sure that's how I want to say it, but that's what it's called.
Hey, I know you.
We might record that as a soundbite and include that every week.
Well, this stems from the from me mainly, but you have also been guilty of it, of discussing an actor or a director involved in a film and, you know, sitting here recording and having to go on IMDb to see what else they've been in because I haven't done my research. So now, episode 200.
We're prepared.
We're prepared. We're taking it more seriously and I'm going to know exactly where I know them from.
Don't worry, I'm sure we'll still be messy bitches at some point.
There's going to be a couple of them.
For anyone who listens specifically for that. So first of all, we have Divine, who you may know from Female Trouble, Polyester, Hairspray, Lust in the Dust, Mondo Trash Show. Did I put Mondo Trash down? Why did I put Mondo Trash down? It's Mondo Trash Show. See, there we go. Already a messy bitch. Multiple Maniacs, Out of the Dark, and Trouble in Mind. Of course, Divine had a music career as well, and as I mentioned previously, drag icon.
Yeah, cultural icon. Worked mainly with John Waters, with a lot of the cast did. Some of them only worked with John Waters before and after Pink Flamingos. We watched Lust in the Dust.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You know, Divine is wonderful.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like I'm going to spend the whole of this episode telling you how wonderful Divine is now, which I love him.
Mink Stole, who is in every John Waters film that he's made.
Yeah.
All About Evil, Lost Highway, the Eaten Out series of films.
Yeah.
Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th.
Now, have you seen Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th? I watched that before Scary Movie because Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell was in it, and I loved Saved by the Bell when I was younger. Still do. Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
It's a very random one. She's had a lot of random roles. Also, But I'm a Cheerleader, Leather Jacket Love Story, and lots more. She's had a prolific
Leather Jacket
career.
Love Story. That great poster on IMDb. Yeah. We need to watch that.
I love Mink Stole. Mink Stole is great.
Mink Stole is fantastic in everything that she does.
Yeah.
I love it.
Edith Massey, who you may remember from Multiple Maniacs, Female Trouble, Desperate Living, Polyester, and Mutants in Paradise.
Right.
Typecast. But I think she absolutely embraced that.
Literally discovered whilst working in a bar.
Yeah.
Just like, do you want to be in this film? Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, I again, I love Edith Massey.
Yeah, I've got stuff to say about Edith Massey too.
David Lockery, who was in Mondo Trasho, Multiple Maniacs, and Female Trouble, and Mary Vivian Pearce, who was only in every John Waters film.
Yeah, both. I think David Lockery died far too young, as did Divine. Actually, I feel like we would have gotten many years from Divine.
Oh yeah,
wonderful.
I mean, especially with the
acting.
drag boom now. You know, drag's gone so mainstream. Imagine Divine now. You know, I mean, many people love her. A new generation love her. So him, you know, it would have been great.
With a lot of the cast and crew of Pink Flamingos, they were kind of known as the Dreamlanders.
The Dreamlanders, yeah.
And they were friends and acquaintances of John Waters. You know, this is a low budget film. And his previous films were low budget, very low budget. And so he kind of got the people he could get to come and join in and be in the film and not get paid a hefty amount, but partake in the experience. And not to say they didn't take it seriously. By all accounts, John Waters took it very seriously. But it was fun with friends gathered together and kind of making, you know, that old queer adage of the like chosen family in a way. And that's not to say that, you know, they didn't get on with their own family, but you know, I did like a band together forming and making art, you know?
And from watching documentaries and interviews and such, they all seem like really likable people, you know, despite playing these horrendous characters on screen. You know, they all seem like such a great bunch of people, and all of the filmmaking and everything, you know, from this group of people was so ahead of its time and so different to what everyone else was doing at that time, to the point it's really admirable.
Yeah, absolutely.
With some of the messages, of course, put across and whatnot. And now, I don't need to explain this section, it's time for our feature presentation.
Give me more questions.
Divine, are you a lesbian?
Yes, I have done everything.
Does blood turn you on?
It does more than turn me on, Mr. Vader. It makes me come. And more than the sight of it, I love the taste of it. The taste of hot, freshly killed blood.
Could you give us some of your political beliefs?
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat shit. Filth are my politics. Filth is my life. Take whatever you like.
Yeah, so we're just going to go through the film like we normally do, just at maybe a little quicker pace, and just say what we think, what we feel, what we know.
It didn't need explaining, but thank you, Chris. And now for our feature presentation.
Okay, I'm one for over-explaining. So we open with Divine being the filthiest person alive.
Yeah.
She's feeding her mother Edie some eggs.
Yeah.
So Edie is obsessed with eggs, loves eggs. And Edith Massey as Edie is a revelation.
Yeah.
Her acting is fucking atrocious. But there's just this incredible sincerity to it. Where you can see that she's trying her best.
Yeah.
And it works because it's so bad.
Yeah, I could watch Edith Massey for hours. She's so entertaining.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. But it's that kind of hilarious person that doesn't realise just how funny they are.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, in Pink Flamingos as Edie the Egg Lady. But then also in the subsequent films, you know, Polyester.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Without knowing. I feel like, particularly in Polyester, she's given, like, her best acting performance. Desperate Living. Hilarious as the Queen. Is it Queen Carlotta?
I think so,
Yeah. And also in Female Trouble.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible actress, which sounds so weird because obviously she's just never going to get, she was never going to get an Oscar,
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird to say incredible actress, but an incredible actress.
Yeah, absolutely. Also had a music career, which I cannot recommend enough. Checking out.
Yes.
It's something. It really is. This film has one of the longest opening credit sequences of all time.
Yeah.
Every actor and every single extra featured in the film is listed, and we even get a title card dedicating it to the Manson kills.
Yeah. It's throughout the film, and I feel like it's one part that John Waters maybe regrets.
Yeah.
A little bit. There's a few bits that we've learned he regretted, but this one in particular is a bit I don't know what the word, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, these are real life murders,
Mhm.
you know, and he dedicated his film to them.
This also feels like a satire on the Mansons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kind of works in that context. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see why you'd want to take it out. Speaking of Edie and that character, so she stays in a playpen. And my first time watching Pink Flamingos, we went to Conjurer's Kitchen at the Electric Cinema in Birmingham, where a drag queen introduced the film in a playpen.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my first impression of the film before we even watched it, and I didn't know what to expect, and of course I was absolutely blown away. Would you like to talk about the food we were given at Conjurer's Kitchen?
Yeah, so I'd already seen the film.
We were given bath bags as well.
And we were given bath bags. It was a great experience. One of them was a cake in the shape of a steak.
Yeah.
One of them was a tongue with jelly saliva. And one of them was a turd in a box.
And as a gift, when we left, we were given glittery pills that make your shit sparkle.
Yes, I didn't use mine.
No,
did you use yours?
I know you didn't, because we have them in this room, in our film room.
Oh, have we? Got them somewhere.
We will post them on our social media.
Ah, that would be good. Oh, you'll have to find them though.
I know exactly where they are. I know. I was obviously planning on using them.
Had you seen the Drag Race episodes?
No, because I think it was after this that I binge watched all of Drag Race.
So Ginger Minge's legendary performance as Edie the Egg Lady.
Yes. Also, I mean, the only John Waters film I'd seen before this was Serial Mum, and even though that's still, you know, obviously quite out there, it's nothing compared to this. So that was quite the experience.
Yeah, Serial Mum is mild in comparison.
Yeah. We also watched this at the Chapeltown Picture House in Manchester, and I mentioned this because the fact that this is still getting cinema releases, and both of these cinema screenings we've been to have been packed out. You know, it just shows the impact it's had still to this day.
Yeah, and it's good because I'm glad people are going out to see it.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss later the new edition in the UK on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Blu-ray?
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray.
Ray is blue.
So for a lot of people, seeing it in the cinema with these screenings, it was the only way to watch it.
Yeah.
Without illegally downloading it online.
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool, and I hope it continues. I would love to see all of John Waters' films on the big screen.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a great filmography for a shared experience with an audience.
Yeah, we managed to see a walkout in the Chapeltown screening at the most random scene. Like, seriously, it makes no sense at all. But we'll get to that later on.
Well, I'll tell my story now because I think it's fitting. I'd watched the film a few times, and I was at university, and it was Valentine's Day, and there was a group of us who weren't in relationships or whatnot, and we were free that evening, and they were like, "Chris, you're a film buff. What film should we put on that's sort of anti-Valentine's Day? That isn't, you know, a romantic comedy, that isn't going to make us feel bad because we're single." I decided on Pink Flamingos. And the way people looked at me after the film had finished the screaming that went on and the horror in people's faces throughout this film was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And one of those films, great as a shared experience, because I'd watched it by myself before that point, and you feel a little dirty afterwards when you're watching it by yourself. But together, you feel a bit less like a creep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is absolutely one to show your friends if you know what's going to happen.
Yes.
But yeah, so Divine plays Babs Johnson, as Chris said, lives with Edie in her playpen. Also lives with her delinquent son Crackers and their traveling companion Cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they live in Phoenix, Maryland. Yeah, and the trailer and everything from the get-go, it looks so gritty and horrible. Danny Mills allegedly regrets playing Crackers and has tried to disassociate himself from the role. It's unclear if he most regrets the sex scene with the chickens or the one with his mother. This was his only acting role. I mean, if you're going to have one role...
Yeah, it might as well be this one. I suppose when people are young, I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming there were lots of drugs involved in the making of this film.
Well, I mean, it was confirmed on a documentary.
Yeah, but I don't want to say Danny Mills was high. But I'm assuming it may be the decisions he made in regards to what he would do in the film were slightly altered.
I mean, from the Divine Trash documentary, the set itself looks just... There could be a film made about the making of this film, and it would be thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah.
According to the production designer, Vincent Peranio, the art department's budget was about $200. Half went to purchasing the trailer, half went to decorating it. And then after that, they would just steal things. During filming, Divine was actually arrested for stealing, and in his defense, he said he was a method actor playing a criminal.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, absolute call out for a disaster artist type film.
Yeah, but I feel like the making of would be silly. Yeah. Rather than, I feel like everyone probably got on really well, and but it would be very interesting. So there are protagonists.
Yeah.
Antagonists are the Marbles. Connie and Raymond.
Yeah.
Played by Mink Stoll and David Lockery. We're introduced to Connie when she's interviewing for someone to go undercover to get information on Babs Johnson, Divine. Now, this is one of the funniest bits of the film, and I don't know why, but when she says, "So Sandy, Miss Sandy Sandstone," I don't know.
It is the line delivery.
Sandy Sandstone. Oh, Mink Stoll is fantastic in this film. Hilarious, a fantastic comedian, really just brilliant. But her delivery of Sandy Sandstone, I just thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
I love an alliterative name, and this goes even further than that.
Yeah. I mean, this whole conversation is fantastic. Just the dialogue exchange in this film.
Sandy's fuming. Sandy Sandstone is fucking fuming.
And this is where the Douglas Sirk side of it comes in. The melodramatic line delivery is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So Connie and Raymond Marble run a black market baby ring where they kidnap young women, have them impregnated by their manservant Channing, and sell the babies to lesbian couples.
Yes. Don't they also sell LSD at schools?
They do,
junior high schools.
Yes. That's what the proceeds are there to finance. That and pornography shops. And Raymond also earns money by exposing himself as well, with a large sausage tied to his dick to women and stealing their purses when they flee. These characters are just fucking ridiculous on another level. I mean, you have to think about the time when this is released, and something that John Waters brought up himself on the audio commentary is the fact that gay couples adopting back then was a complete taboo.
Yeah.
You know, it was a complete grey area. Nothing like it is now. You know, and you would have gay couples going out paying for children to have children. So the fact that he brought this up in the film in such a funny way, but in a way that also raises awareness for, you know, the extremes people have to go to if they want to have a child. It's so clever the way he does it.
It's horrifying how we get to that point.
It is, yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, because wasn't it nice to see a lesbian couple adopting a baby?
Yeah.
And they were so happy to have the baby. They were like, oh my God, this is going to change our life. And if they were or weren't aware of how the baby was conceived, I'm assuming this lesbian couple, because you only see them, you don't even see their faces, but you just see them from for one scene. They're so happy and so grateful that as a lesbian couple they can have a child. It's actually quite a tender moment. But then you're like, well, no, it's not a tender moment because of how that baby was conceived. That's so wrong.
And then you look into those darker moments, and it kind of says something about the treatment of the LGBTQ plus community in that time. You know, when it is when it is dark that you'd have to pay to have a kid.
Yeah.
And John Waters does this so well. He especially did it well in Multiple Maniacs. You know, when we literally had a freak show and people paying to watch gay couples kiss.
Oh God, yeah.
That says so much from just one small joke in a film. That really says so much about the way people looked at gay people back then. And he does it so well throughout this film.
Well, would it still been a mental illness back then?
Yeah.
It's interesting, and you know, I've said it plenty of times on the podcast, probably 200 times. You know, I love a film that has those layers that you can look at and find something there.
It's difficult to miss them. I mean, especially when there's so much going on in this film, that can distract you from it. But I think, you know, upon a few rewatches and such,
it's easy.
I mean, I wasn't looking out for social commentary when I first watched this film. That's for certain. But you know, the more you look into it, and especially when you're watching it for a podcast, and you notice these little things, it really is a really clever piece of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Raymond's flashing. What do we have to say about that?
It's a weird one. Weird because of the sausage. Weird because David Lochary had to dye his pubes blue to match his blue hair. And I suppose it's for a purpose, isn't it? He gets his jollies off it, I'm assuming, but also it's so he can steal their purses.
Yeah.
It mustn't be nice to be flashed.
No.
Unfortunately, I've never been flashed. But wasn't this around this time? Wasn't 72 the year of the Oscars streaker?
Maybe.
Wasn't there like a period of time where people just loved streaking, like at sports events and such?
Maybe. I mean, I think it was more popular back then than it is now.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
No, I don't. But the thing is, you know, it is. People just send dick pics online now, I'm assuming, rather than. They've got other ways.
2022
but
equivalent.
it's the same. But it's the same thing, though.
It is the same thing.
It's
It's absolutely the same thing. Yeah.
You know, it is the same.
If you don't ask for it and you get it, if you get an unsolicited dick pic, it's flashing.
Exactly. You know? So it's not exactly, you know, we look back and, you know, with not nostalgia. Not nostalgia. But we look back, you know, it's 50 years since this film came out, and we haven't developed that far.
But wait, we've just realised we've been flashed.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah.
What a revelation.
But yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, if you're on Grindr, is it unsolicited?
Yes, of course it's unsolicited if you don't ask for it.
I mean, I've never sent one, thankfully.
Well, I've received unsolicited dick pics, and now I'm traumatized.
Was a
because
sausage?
there was a sausage tied to
There's a
it.
sausage tied to it.
There was blue pubes.
Blue pubes. Did he steal your wallet?
Yes.
There we go.
I mean, I suppose
History repeats itself.
Yeah. Wow. 2022, everyone. Well, no, actually, no. 2017.
Oh,
everyone.
excuse me? 2022?
Oh shit! Quickly delete. There we go. 200 episodes and we're still just talking shit.
We are. So let's not talk about flashing anymore until later. Divine goes to the shops for a 5-finger discount on some steak. On the way there, there's two things in this film that John Waters identified as actually being illegal. Despite all the shocking stuff that happens in the film, there's two things that are officially illegal that appear in the film. They graffitied the wall to say "Free Tex Watson." Tex Watson being one of the Manson murderers. So again, that reference. And Divine peeing on private property in front of someone's house. So the Manson murder references, like you said, it's kind of an attack on hippie culture.
Yeah.
Which is a huge theme of the film. John Waters said, "I hate hippies in the same way I hate New Age people. The love will conquer all mentality I hate." And it's interesting because the audience was mainly hippies.
Yeah.
And he even said that. Like, he was kind of a hippie himself.
Yeah.
But he hated it. That peace and love will conquer all. That Kylie Jenner giving the police a Pepsi Cola bullshit. He hated that. And the whole film is, a take on that. And an attack on hippie culture. Because he said it's also an attack on maybe conservatism, but no conservative's going to watch the film.
No.
So what kind of was the point? The people who are going to watch the film are the hippies. They're the ones who would go to the cinema to watch this. The conservatives won't watch it, and they'll be horrified from what they hear.
Yeah.
But the hippies are the ones that are going to pay for tickets. And, hopefully also have a sense of humour about themselves.
Yeah.
But, and I think also he thinks that maybe hippies took themselves too seriously. And it's also an attack on people who take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that can't find humour in the film. Because it is a comedy.
Yeah.
Mary Vivian Pearce, she wasn't allowed to be a communist because she wore eye makeup.
Yeah.
So he's kind of making fun of those people who take themselves too seriously. Those lefty hippies. Yeah.
And the thing is, also, by the way, one thing we haven't mentioned yet is all of this is going on, all this insanity, these attacks on hippies, the social commentary, the humour, everything we mentioned up to this point is all happening to the backdrop of one of the greatest soundtracks I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. And I think this is a good point to mention it, especially with the juvenile delinquent scene, with Divine stealing the steak. It's such a perfect example, and John Waters is so good at doing this, of mixing music and film together.
Yeah.
And it especially means the music he's playing, would have been classed as older music even at that time. Would it have come from around the same time as the melodramatic films that he's
from the 50s.
It works. It really works.
Yeah, so it's songs that he loved when he was younger, and not the most famous, apart from the one we'll discuss in a second, but not the most famous of music, but it fits very well.
Yeah,
and it's interesting, his kind of. Because it's quite a childish film.
Yeah.
And he said that quite a childish film. They're all kind of acting like children, or how children unsupervised would act. Not the not necessarily the marbles, but, you know, Divine and, well,
Divine.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Without supervision. There's certain stuff,
Kids go around eating
obviously
people.
kids would not go around eating the police, but stuff like that. But you understand what I mean.
Yes.
So having songs from his childhood, I think, is quite interesting as well. And also probably cheaper.
Wow. I mean, it's probably why it's taken it so long to get a UK release.
Yeah. But as Divine is stealing the steak up her dress, I'm not a juvenile delinquent plays. But the real famous song is The Girl Can't Help It. And this is one of my favourite scenes from the film.
Yeah.
So it's after Babs has stolen the steak and Divine is walking down the street and you're getting these looks from the public. You know, not actors, the public on the Baltimore street. And they are horrified. Just at Divine's existence. Horrified. Shocked. Appalled. As The Girl Can't Help It plays. So The Girl Can't Help It was one of John Waters' favourite films. Starred Jane Mansfield. And Jane Mansfield was a big influence on Divine as a drag actor. And a big influence also on the interiors of the trailer. So that very kitsch 50s look that it had, which was well past its sell-by date by 1972, was based around, on a much smaller budget, Jane Mansfield's mansion, you know? And I think that's very interesting that they would choose Jane Mansfield as that influence, because Jane Mansfield was very much a sex symbol, maybe more so than Marilyn Monroe, looked at as a ditzy blonde just for her figure, for her curves, can't act, can't, you know, do this, that, and the other. Very much objectified. And Divine is basing her whole look on this. And Divine is a large man.
But also with Jane Mansfield's is it or isn't it true satanic past as well. There's an entire documentary about it, which is absolutely worth watching.
Which John Waters was in. Wasn't
yeah. But, you know, those sort of rumours as well add into that persona. And with the fact that, you know, Divine in this film is a murderer and a cannibal as well, it kind of all comes together and it makes sense when you think about it. It's a weird one to think of straight away. It's not the first thing that comes to mind is Jane Mansfield. But then when you think about it, it's like, oh, this absolutely makes sense.
And also, Jane Mansfield had a very unfortunate and untimely death in a car accident. Something John Waters has on many occasions said he found very interesting as a child. The car crashes and such. We shouldn't laugh, excuse me, but it's so absurd to say out loud.
The marbles enlist a spy.
Just going back, sorry. What I also love about this Girl Can't Help It scene is that it's Divine showing why Divine was so wonderful. Divine made a career celebrating the characteristics of himself that he was bullied for. You know, you're too fat, you're too gay. You know, so what does he do? Well, I'm too gay? No, I'm going to be a drag, you know, artist, drag actor. Too fat? You know, I'm going to wear the tightest dress I can find. Too weird? You know, look at this fucking hairline that's a meter away from my eyebrows. Look at this crazy makeup. You know, it's a celebration of everything that he was told made him not good enough. And that's very endearing.
It is.
To a queer audience, to, you know, a weird audience, to a fat audience. You know, I may be one of them. It's very endearing.
It is.
You know?
It is. It's great to see body positivity, especially around this time. Where the film, there's a lot of jokes in this film. Divine's appearance isn't the joke. I mean, there's a few moments where, you know, there's some name calling and such from other characters. And it's so melodramatic to the point it is funny, but it's not the center of the joke. Whereas, you know, you have films being released 20 to 30 years after this, where if you had a man dressed as a woman in a film and they were fat, that's the joke.
Yeah.
That's the main joke, you know, but Divine made a living off it and celebrated it.
And in a film that is attacking people who can't laugh at themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and drag queens, as John Waters stated, were very square back then.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't very hip. They dressed like mothers. And they, the other drag queens, hated Divine.
Yeah.
Because to them, and we've seen The Queen, the documentary, and there's a poster on the Marble's wall.
Yeah, an influence for this film, wasn't it?
Very much an influence for this film. And the drag queens within that documentary are hosting a pageant. And what it appears to be is the most feminine, the one who looks most like a woman, the one who looks most like Elizabeth Taylor is the one that wins. You know, glamour, being able to pass as a woman. They're what was celebrated in drag culture. And John Waters was like, no, that's bullshit. And Divine, with the influence of David Lochary, came around to that as well and made a fucking career of saying, no, you know, this is what my drag is, and that's perfectly valid. Even though when Divine first started wearing women's clothing, she did want to look like Elizabeth Taylor. Famously later on saying, when I was younger, this always makes me laugh, and I love Elizabeth Taylor. When I was younger, I always wanted to look like Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah. And now she looks like me. And God bless her, she kind of did. But yeah, I love that scene. Really iconic. And it's not shocking at all. It's kind of just a celebration of Divine, of queerness, of weirdness, and just the looks on the people's faces as Divine struts down that street to The Girl Can't Help It. I love it.
The Marbles enlist a spy, Cookie, to gather information about Divine by dating crackers, which leads to one of the film's most infamous scenes.
Yeah. This was really the one that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, really uncomfortable. I don't know how to describe it. So, Cookie and Crackers start having sex.
I know it's a minor scene, but also the scene before this where Cookie meets Edie. Hilarious.
Yeah, that
so
is hilarious.
So she's just sitting there, Edie's asleep, and then she wakes up and just, I don't even know, just
her talking.
It's covered in egg. And just her, you know, this person who's gone out undercover.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole joke about this scene is the fact that it's backfiring on her for going undercover. But to absolute extremes. And this is a starter. It's just so funny.
Yeah. So they're going at it, being watched by Cotton, and Crackers introduces a chicken to the festivities. Yeah, very what's the word I'm looking for? Uncomfortable.
Yeah, this is one of the scenes that isn't easy to watch, even on a rewatch. I mean, somehow John Waters still makes an absolutely valid point about it, despite how horrific it is.
Yeah.
I mean, he said this is a chicken that was going to be killed and cooked. But he gave the chicken a career. It's in a film.
And we're still talking about it 50 years later.
We are, and the cast actually cooked and ate the chicken after.
Ate the chicken. So the chicken does die within the scene.
Yeah, so the chicken has its throat slit, and David, not David Lochary,
Danny Mills.
Yeah, Danny Mills is he's just completely smothering Cookie Mueller with this dead chicken.
Yeah.
Blood.
And you can absolutely tell Cookie Mueller is not.
Yeah,
because she's getting scratched a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we probably should have said in a bizarre series of events, because it sounds bizarre even saying it out
We
loud.
should have said that before we started talking about the film.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows how fucking insane that that this family are, because obviously Divine has already had a conversation with him about this near the start of the film, so she knows this is what he does. You've got Cotton watching from the window. I mean, we already know what they're like.
Yeah.
He probably could have done without this.
But, as said in Female Trouble, who wants to die for art? Well, the chicken did.
Yeah. But yeah, as much as John Waters tries to justify it and makes a weird kind of sense, it's still not pleasant to watch.
It's not. No, it's very uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable. But then, we don't sit here as vegans or vegetarians.
No.
After that bizarre series of events, another bizarre series of events, artificial insemination, Gary.
Yes.
What have you got to say about that?
Could have gone my whole life without seeing this. Again, another hilarious scene leading up to it, where the guy living with the marbles is having a wank.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that says a lot about my sense of humour. I find that funny. But the fact that he's standing there, he's having
the
a
way
wank,
his arse is clenching. It's like that's acting. He's not actually giving himself a treat.
It's one of the woman that's down there with him in the pit. Who's like, "Oh, you're disgusting. What are you doing? Oh, look what you're doing to yourself. Oh, I nearly threw up when you came near me. Oh, look at it." And it's her reactions. It's so funny for such a dark scene. To the point where you're questioning yourself laughing at it, but it really is hilarious. The artificial insemination, something.
Yeah, so he gets his what's it called? It's not
Spunk.
turkey based. What is it?
It's a syringe.
Syringe. Thank you.
We see a close up of his spunk.
We do, yeah, and then we get a very very close shot of the lady's vagina, body double, but a vagina, and with the syringe.
We knew what was happening, John Waters. You didn't need to show us this.
But that's the whole idea, would it have the same effect if he didn't show it?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's I genuinely do not know what to say. I mean, that just happened. It's very shocking. Yeah. I've never seen one so close in a film before.
No?
Or since, I don't think. No. Can you think of another film?
No, Don't Breathe nearly went there.
No, not artificial insemination, just a vagina in general.
Oh, just a vagina?
Yeah,
of course we've seen Devil Hunter. The whole film is close-ups of vaginas. The entire fucking film.
Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals. Jesus.
Oh my god.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I say this as a gay man. I've seen a lot of vaginas, and it's all been on a screen, and it's not in porn either. So.
Yeah. Well, that happens. I feel like an Avengers character. Well, that happened. That's what they say. Isn't that the joke? Every sort of Marvel film is, oh, well, that happened.
Yeah, thanks, Taika Waititi. Anyway, Cookie informs the Marbles about Babs' real identity, her whereabouts and her family, as well as her upcoming birthday party. This scene, were you more grossed out by the artificial insemination or the toe licking?
This scene, the toe sucking, horrified. As someone who I don't like feet, I was horrified. It was absolutely disgraceful. They're in bed together, Connie and Raymond, and they're sucking each other's toes. What the actors did in this film is incredible. you know, what they had to go through, because I don't think I could do that.
I mean, they might have enjoyed it, you know, for
they might. Oh, you know, some people, and this is one of the things, is that not all of it, but stuff like this, which is quite shocking. Well, people actually do that.
Yeah,
you know, people actually do enjoy feet, and
that's what you like. That's what you like.
Putting them in your mouth, and oh god.
We're not kink shaming, by the way. If you enjoy it, then good for you. I'm sure you'll really enjoy this scene.
I'm just one of those people that hates feet. I just find them a bit gross. I do apologise. I'm not kink shaming. It's just not for me. It's making fun of porno chic.
It is.
There's another scene later on that also makes fun of porno chic, and we'll probably get to that. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
It really is.
Some of the best dialogue in the film, where they confess their love for each other, and Connie says, "Oh, I love you, Raymond. I love you more than anything in this whole world. More than my own filthiness. More than my own hair colour. Oh God, I love you more than the sound of bones breaking, the sound of death rattle. Even more than my own shit do I love you, Raymond." Amazing. Even more than my own shit.
Even more than my own shit. Who loves their shit that much?
Speaking of which,
what I feel to be the funniest scene of the entire film, Divine has sent a turd through the post for her birthday.
And yeah, if you must know, a real turd provided by Divine.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to open a box with a real turd in, it probably should be your own, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the dialogue, hilarious. A turd.
Someone sent me a bowel movement. No one sends you a turd and expects to live. But the best line of dialogue in this scene is Edie. No one mentions the Eggman. We haven't mentioned the Eggman yet, actually. We'll get to that in a minute. But she literally says, "It wasn't the Eggman, Babs. The Eggman didn't do it." What the fuck? No one said he did.
No one said.
She gets a card addressing her as Fatso.
Which apparently was an actual insult that Divine was given a lot when she was younger. He was younger. Fans would actually send John Waters turds for the post.
Yeah. The card is also signed from the filthiest people alive, so now Divine knows the competition's out there.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't said yet is this film has no plot, by the way.
essentially no. It's just a series of weird events.
Yeah.
Sort of joined together.
I mean, if they were to give a plot, you know, it would be people competing to be the filthiest people alive.
Yeah,
but
essentially. The old American tradition of competition.
Yeah.
That they all seem to love.
And Divine declares that whoever...
only Americans can enter this competition, but they declare themselves the filthiest people alive, even though there were a few billion people on the planet. It's only in America.
And only in Baltimore.
And only in Baltimore.
Baltimore often feels like an extra character in John Waters' films.
What is it? Oh, is it? In America, the baseball competition is called the World Series.
Yeah,
but it's only American teams.
Yeah. Divine declares that whoever sent the package must die. Channing starts dressing in Connie's clothes whilst the marbles are gone, and imitates his employer's overheard conversations. When they return home, they're absolutely outraged to find him mocking them, so they fire him and lock him in a closet.
They do. Again,
shoving someone in a closet when they find him dressed as a woman, that says a lot.
And there we are. It's true. In some really nice events.
Oh my god.
Edie and the Eggman get engaged.
Yeah, oh shit, I haven't got my notes. Yes,
the Eggman. Edie and the Eggman
get
engaged.
The Eggman was a thing.
Her love is reciprocated. Yeah, we didn't really explain that. Edie loves eggs so much that there is a man that comes round and sells them eggs on a daily basis.
A real thing.
Apparently a real thing,
yeah.
like a milkman, but this is an eggman. And she loves him so much. That's reciprocated. It's very heartwarming. Genuinely. I know it sounds weird to say, but it's actually a genuinely heartwarming moment. Edie gets her happy ending with the Eggman.
Yeah.
Doesn't she? But they're both there to celebrate Divine's birthday party.
They are.
Divine's gifts include A200, which we learned from John Waters' commentary is some sort of product to get rid of crabs. She gets poppers.
Yeah.
Which seemingly back in the day they cracked in half and then sniffed.
Yeah.
Slightly different to now. And she gets a pig's head.
Oh, and fake vomit. And a
fake vomit.
And a meat cleaver.
And a meat cleaver. Oh, excuse me.
The Marbles are there spying on this birthday party and in a bizarre series of events. Now, I tell you now, I've sat through this chicken scene a number of times. I've sat through the dog shit eating scene a number of times. I still cannot keep my eyes on the screen completely whilst this scene happens. So, entertainers include a topless woman with a snake hat. That's fine.
Who, Brittany?
Yeah. And
I'm a slave for you.
Yeah. And a contortionist who flexes his prolapsed anus.
Who said it was prolapsed?
Bitch, it's prolapsed.
That's so
Have you watched the film?
rude.
Have you watched the scene in full?
I have, yeah.
It's prolapsed.
No, prolapse means the inside's outside.
Chris, that happens.
No, it's just.
I promise you that happens. I
just,
promise you
it's
that
just a bit
happens.
big.
No, it happens. It really does. You need to watch the scene again and study it properly. It happens.
No, it's just as like bum lips
Chris,
or whatever.
I checked Wikipedia. It happens.
Oh, what?
It's his prolapsed anus.
Wikipedia says it's prolapsed.
Yes.
Oh, I just thought it was a bit big.
No, I've seen the scene enough times and looked away enough times.
Oh, I watched it all the way through.
He flexes his prolapsed anus in rhythm to the song Surfing Bird. At his request, the singing arsehole was not credited, and John Waters maintained that he certainly will remain nameless because it's his choice, and he did up until his death in 2020, where his widow gave the permission for John Waters to reveal that his name was David Gluck.
Yeah, and it was quite sad, really, because it's thoroughly entertaining.
Yeah,
it's a trick that not everyone can do, and it's hilarious. But what he didn't want revealed, he didn't want his name revealed whilst his parents were still alive.
Yeah,
because he didn't want his parents to find out. He wasn't necessarily ashamed of it, and I think he told close friends and such. Because what a pie trick.
Oh yeah. I don't know what else to say.
It is to most. I think most people that I've shown the film or watched the film with, that is the one where people are truly either horrified or cackling with laughter. There's no middle ground. No. You're watching it. You there's no straight face.
Mm-hmm.
You're one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it says about me that I can watch many horror films of people being chopped up here and there, but I can't watch a singing arsehole. The Eggman goes off into the sunset with Edie in a wheelbarrow.
Yes. Which was visibly difficult. It's so funny.
Yeah.
The party gets... the Marbles call the police. Yeah. The police turn up to stop the party. And so the party goers cut up and eat the police.
They do, in what was either an homage to Night of the Living Dead or Blood Feast. John Waters can't quite remember. I can see a point for either.
Yeah. Do you find it interesting that this is the only time where Babs and Co. actively hurt other people?
Yeah.
Or harm other people?
Yeah.
Let's the chicken aside.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Because
well, apart from the marbles.
the marbles, yeah, but the marbles antagonize Babs. You know, that's a revenge plot.
Yeah.
The marbles are the ones not minding their own business. The police are the ones not minding their own business.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, you know, and so they're punished.
Yeah.
But, you know, Divine is the filthiest person alive, but the really weird, strange, and shocking things they do, they're not harming anyone else. Whereas the marbles are the ones kidnapping people.
Yeah.
They're the ones selling drugs to children, you know? And I think that's quite an interesting...
Definitely. I mean, especially given the police's problematic history with the LGBTQ plus community.
Absolutely. This is post-Stonewall.
Yeah. You know, I mean, even to this day, we're still getting bans on uniformed police officers from Pride because of how, you know, because of incidents that have happened even in recent years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a very interesting point, and I think that was absolutely intentional.
Yeah. Because ultimately, despite the shocking nature of what they do, they just live in their own lives. They're not necessarily harming anyone else. You know, the most shocking moments that include Babs, in particular, you know, mind your business. What harm is Babs doing? I don't think it right that you know the final scene.
Yeah, I think including cannibalism as well as an homage to either Night of the Living Dead or Bloodfeast is interesting, considering Night of the Living Dead, when Nat did that, that was new. That was the first time zombies had ate people. You know, Bloodfeast wasn't too far. Was it released before or after? It wasn't too far apart. So, you know, this is obviously a new kind of thing within horror films at that point. So for John Waters to include a bit of horror in his film by including that, I feel that's great.
Yeah, and ultimately, what they both also are low-budget underground movies.
Yeah.
Like Pink Flamingos. You know, and John Waters, as we've discovered, whilst we've been watching all his work and listening to commentaries, watching interviews, is someone who wears his influences very much on his sleeve.
Yeah.
You don't always notice, because the influences sometimes are a little weird.
Yeah.
A little out there. But he's, you know, a film fan. He loves films. And he's very much like Quentin Tarantino. Always steal or directly take from other films. But he wears his influences on his sleeve, definitely, I feel.
One of Raymond's would-be flasher targets, a transgender woman who has not completed gender reassignment surgery, thwarts his scheme by exposing her breast, penis and scrotum, causing Raymond to flee in shock.
Absolute queen.
Elizabeth Coffey.
Yeah. Giving Raymond a taste of his own medicine. Hilarious scene.
Yeah.
So funny.
Elizabeth Coffey was a transgender woman who had already undergone the hormone therapy to develop breasts and female features at the time of filming. She had surgery to remove her penis a week to the day her scene was filmed, and appeared as a cisgender female in Female Trouble.
Oh.
So,
what role?
Yeah. I mean, just including a transgender woman in a film in the early 70s, that is massive for for trans people, trans representation. Whether it's the best representation in a scene that's used as a joke,
But I don't feel like she was the joke.
But that's what I was
joke is Raymond getting a taste of his own medicine.
That's what I'm getting to, yeah. The fact that it's used like that, and the fact that a transgender person is shown, nude as well. Seriously, who else is doing that in the early 70s? To include that, whether it's for shock value or not, it's still big. And it's still, something that no one else is doing.
Yeah. And this is what I find with Pink Flamingos. However shocking or distasteful or trashy people say it is, it's not offensive.
No.
A lot of films throughout the years have been deemed as controversial or shocking because they're homophobic, racist, transphobic. They feature, oh God, Nazism, anti-Semitic, all of those. And this is when I say that I hate when Pink Flamingos is put in the same category as a lot of these films.
Yeah.
Because it's not offensive. It's shocking, but it doesn't have, it's not necessarily at anyone's expense.
No.
And if you've got a good sense of humor about yourself, then it's not at anyone's expense. And I don't think, hippies being the target is really that offensive, and that's why the film works. Because you're shocked, but you're shocked, you've chosen to be shocked.
Yeah.
They're not harming anyone.
No.
And that's what I love about the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Divine and Crackers head to Marble's house where they lick and rub the furniture, which excites them so much that Divine ends up giving Crackers a blowjob.
Yeah.
The only scene, one of the two only things that John Waters regrets in the film.
Yeah.
It's unsimulated. We see it all.
We do.
He claimed it was awkward to film because the two actors were friends at the time. He feels it's also the most dated part of the film because, again, it's a satire on the likes of Deep Throat and Porno Chic.
Yeah.
70s.
So it references films that aren't really in the zeitgeist anymore.
No.
That porno chic idea of, people taking themselves very seriously, getting all dolled up to go watch Deep Throat at the cinema. And John Waters has always been a fan of art films as well as trashy exploitation films. But I feel like he's making fun of those people who, dressed in their best furs to go watch Behind the Green Door. Shit like that.
Yeah, they find Channing.
It's also sorry, just another one. This was the scene that really horrified people when I showed it on Valentine's Day, and it is kind of horrifying because obviously Divine and Danny Mills aren't mother and son.
No,
it's an incest scene, but because of the sincerity and the believability of Divine as an actress, and the weird chemistry that they have together. It does feel very uncomfortable because, you are invested in the fact that they are mother and son.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous because obviously they're not. They're really not.
No.
But it is uncomfortable because of that.
Yeah. They find Channing and discover two pregnant women held captive in the basement. After Divine and Crackers free the women with a large knife, the women use the knife to... chop off Channing's dick.
They do.
So this is the scene that people walked out on in Chapeltown Picture House. Seriously, up until this point, you've seen a singing arsehole, you've seen a chicken murdered, you've seen, incest and everything, and you're going to walk out at who is essentially an antagonist being castrated.
Yeah, you don't even see it really, do you?
No.
The Marbles set Babs's mobile home on fire.
Yeah.
You get a controversial long take on the flames. I think very much a stretch. People accusing John Waters of being some sort of pyromaniac because the take is very long on the flames. You are watching fire for a very long time.
I mean, if you're gonna, do something like that on a micro budget, you're gonna want to film it as long as possible.
That is the thing. It probably costs them a lot of money to do that. So they return, don't they? Babs and Crackers, and they find that the mobile home has been burnt down, and so they go to the Marbles to put them on trial.
Yeah, but first the Marbles are rejected by their furniture.
Oh yeah, that is funny.
They go home and they cast it down because the furniture rejects them because it was cursed when it was licked by Divine and Crackers.
Which I don't think is a real curse, so don't be trying it. Marbles on trial.
Yeah.
Iconic.
This Divine's outfit in this scene. The big red dress. Everyone knows the image.
Everyone knows it. Holding the gun. Absolutely stunning. Absolute icon. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. This, on all the posters, on anything, Pink Flamingos, this is the one. John Waters was a big fan of trials. Loved to watch them. It's weird. It's a weird part of American culture that doesn't really exist in the UK. Because we don't have, as far as I know, unless there's a big revelation coming our way, we don't have court cases televised.
We don't. No, I mean, we had the Johnny Depp one, didn't we? That was in the UK.
That was that in the UK?
It was in the UK.
Was it?
Yeah.
With Amber Heard?
Yeah.
Why was that in the UK? Everyone was American.
I know. Yeah, it's in the UK.
Was it really?
It was.
Was it televised?
It was live online, I believe. Yeah.
Can we do that?
Maybe.
Wow. I never knew that. But it's a very much an American thing.
Yeah.
You know, the O.J. Simpson trial, the Manson murder trial, you know, big news, and trials here are big news as well. But, you know, it was on TV. So it's very much in keeping with that. And the American culture that I was speaking about earlier, and the Americana, which I'm not 100% sure what Americana means, but
keep saying it. Sounds good.
It does sound good. I'm not 100% sure. What does Americana mean?
I have no idea. That's Collie Johnson.
That's Americanas, but okay.
Is it?
Yeah, Holly Johnson, Americanas. Love that song.
So the court trial.
Yes.
Absolutely
fantastic dialogue.
Divine calls the tabloid media to witness the trial and execution. You'll have already heard the quote that I've included on this episode from it, which is really iconic. They are convicted on terms of first-degree stupidity and assholism. I mean, just this whole monologue is just incredible. Yeah,
it's I suppose a trash manifesto.
Yeah.
Like, I think John Waters wrote it as a kind of trash manifesto of, you know, eat shit.
Yeah.
You know, kill everyone, do whatever you like, very what's the word? Anarchy.
Anarchist.
Anarchist.
Yeah, anarchy.
Anarchy.
Yeah, that's the right word.
It is, isn't it? Excuse me. But yeah, very much a sort of anarchist view. You know, polar opposite to hippie culture.
Yeah.
Love and peace and give peace a chance. The opposite. Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Eat shit.
Yeah. They're tied. Marbles are tied to a tree, coated in tar and feathers, and shot in the head by Divine.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is that the another sort of satire on journalism and the media. The photographers are there the whole time, and what they say, instead of saying, "What if we go to the police?" they say, "Well, what if we don't run the story?" And she's like, "Well, I know that you have a wife and a child, so if you don't run this story, I might have to pay them a visit." Like, oh, okay. And then they just walk off, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, nice one. Thanks, Babs. Thanks, Divine. See you later."
One of the cameramen being the director of Divine Trash, filming footage whilst this is being filmed.
Yeah.
Divine, Crackers, and Cotton decide they're going to move to Idaho, don't they?
Yeah, they're going to move to Boise, Idaho. Divine's going to get a crew cut, and they're going to live in is it gas station bathrooms?
Yeah.
And the film ends there, and nothing else happens.
Well, yeah. So you'd think. In a final bizarre series of events, spotting a small dog having a shit on the sidewalk, Divine scoops it up with her hand, puts it in her mouth, proving, as the Voiceover narration by Waters states, Divine is not only the filthiest person in the world, but she's also the filthiest actress in the world.
This is the scene that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
This is the one, you know, that if you said to someone, "Oh, Pink Flamingos, it's a drag queen eats shit."
Mm-hmm.
It is horrifying. It is disgusting.
Yeah.
It really is. The shit-eating grin that Divine gives the camera and that wink. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But because it's so disgusting.
Yeah. But there's no laws against it.
There's no laws against it. This is not against the law.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Divine in 1972 was probably not the first person in the world to eat dog shit.
Wow, I mean, maybe.
But just the first actress to do it on film.
Yeah.
John Waters said this, that the whole film is about pot. I was on pot when I wrote it. The audience was on pot. Divine was on pot when she agreed to eat shit. And do you see that? And I'm trying not to get too serious about it, but do you see the scene as a kind of precursor to the shocking content we now get online? Do you think a modern audience can be shocked by this as they were 50 years ago?
I think the creators of Jackass may have stumbled upon this.
But I think we're getting to the point with the internet where people are doing much as
There's
possible.
probably about 50,000 videos on the internet of people eating shit now. Let's face it.
Absolutely, you know, and again, not to kink shame anyone, but you've got scat play and all of that. You know, 2 girls, 1 cup.
Yeah.
You know, you've got people online eating is it Tide Pods, or, you know, for your washing?
I have absolutely
clothes
no idea.
washing, you know, as a challenge. You know, people are doing much more and more and more to gain attention.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously as a film, Pink Flamingos has a message about American culture.
Yeah.
But it's kind of using the same tactics. You know, John Waters said, you know, we were a low budget film. We had to do whatever we could do to get people's attention.
Yeah.
So you lure them in with the promise of someone eating dog shit, and then you give them a hilarious film that's a commentary on American culture.
Yeah.
You know, and what we've seen in the 50 years, because, you know, the film was prosecuted many times after it was released. The film would be put to a jury, and John Waters would constantly have to pay fines. Very reminiscent of the video nasties.
Yeah.
So it's a tale as old as time, you know, and before Pink Flamingos was Blood Feast, you know, films that were made to shock. But do you think that over the years, you know, Blood Feast, Pink Flamingos, and John Waters films, you know, video nasties, because a lot of the video nasties we've watched, and they're ridiculously painful to watch because they exist only to shock.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to them, particularly like the Nazi exploitation ones, you know, and then you get stuff like Jackass, which is extreme for entertainment and humour. And then on the internet now, any Tom, Dick and Harry can go online, do the stupidest shit for attention and get millions of people, you know, and out of those, obviously, Pink Flamingos is top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in many ways, it is a precursor, and we haven't really come that far in 50 years.
No.
Because people are still using those same tactics of shocking to gain an audience, to gain attention.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're wondering what happened after Pink Flamingos, director John Waters wrote a sequel to the film called Flamingos Forever, which takes place 15 years after the original, showing Babs' return to Baltimore with cotton crackers, Miss Edie, and her new grandson Dwayne, an 8-year-old transgender boy. Their foe in the film is Connie Marble's sister, Vera Vinegar.
Nice. You know I love an alliterative name.
Veninga, maybe, but it looks like vinegar. Yeah. And her husband Wilbur. a necrophile who runs a mortuary.
Oh.
Troma Films offered to finance the picture for $600,000, but it was never made because of the death of Edith Massey and later that of Divine, whose roles were integral to the plot. Waters is also very uncomfortable with Troma's editing facilities. Apparently, it was from like the earliest days of editing.
Since when has Troma had $600,000
I know.
for a film?
They make a lot. The screenplay is actually available with the screenplays of Pink Flamingos and Desperate Living in a collection entitled Trash Trio, if anyone wants to read it.
Ah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I'd love to get that.
But yeah, that is Pink Flamingos.
That's Pink Flamingos.
Which brings me to our new awards section. You may recognise this from our original versus remake episodes, but for why the fuck not? Let's bring it into our other episodes and create some more categories. So first up, we have the biggest queen, the actress that we stand the most in the film, because you all know it's rare that we discuss a film without a strong female character.
Absolutely.
What's yours?
Mine is obviously Divine.
Mine is also Divine.
Divine has a singular screen presence that I don't believe could ever be duplicated.
Yeah, I mean, the Egg Lady is a close second, but it is absolutely Divine for me.
Yeah.
There's a force, an absolute
with Divine,
force.
there was no one like that before, and no one like that after.
No.
Like, really,
Mhm.
in terms of, you know, like, a cultural reset.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, drag.
Yeah.
In particular, and, you know, queer cinema. No one like Divine.
No. Next up, we have the biggest gasp,
Gasp.
which is most shocking, outrageous, and scandalous moment. For me, it is, of course, the singing and indeed prolapsed anus.
Yes. For me, it would probably be the artificial insemination. Just really horrifying. Maybe the chicken as well, actually, the poor chicken. Yeah, just the biggest gasp. And I think, you know, it still holds up 50 years later.
It does.
We like our trashy cinema. We like our exploitation. You know, I'm not one of these that goes online anymore and watches these weirdo videos.
Anymore?
To shock. Well, when you were in uni, someone would always put them on and search. Cake farts was a particular favourite. But it still shocks me. I still find Pink Flamingos, not so much now, because I've watched it so much.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's meant to shock. It's still, you know, a gasp-worthy moment.
Yeah.
Many gasp-worthy moments. John Waters himself said that, you know, critics today are too hip and they would never admit that they were shocked. And I think I think it's cooler to sit here and say, well, I wasn't shocked by any of Pink Flamingos. You know, I watched One Man, One Jar and I wasn't horrified.
Next up, we have Best Dialogue, which is exactly how it sounds. Mine is Connie's confession of love for Raymond that ends with, I love you even more than my own shit.
Yeah. Something else involving shit. It's my favourite is Babs Johnson when she says, oh my God almighty, someone has sent me a bowel movement.
And finally, we have That's Camp. The most camp moment in the film. For me, I have Divine's big monologue.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also put down all of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean
it's camp,
it's
you
true.
know, and camp is something that is difficult to really explain.
Mm-hmm.
There's no certain formula to it. I think it's Susan Sontag that wrote, you know, the book on camp, literally. But even then, she couldn't say there was definite, you know, a definite what is camp and what isn't. It's subjective.
And what would you rate the film? Yes, we have a rating section now.
We do have a rating section, and of course it's 10s.
Yeah.
10, 10, 10.
10 dog shits out of 10.
Board. 10 dog shit. 10 eggs.
Yeah.
Of course, 10 toes being sucked.
And would you say this is a masterpiece, trash, or a basic bitch?
I mean, masterpiece.
Yeah, for me, it goes past trash to piece because it knows what it's doing. A trash to piece for me is something that's so bad it's good, something that isn't supposed to be trashy but ends up being so trashy to the point it's entertaining. For me, this is a masterpiece because yes, it is trashy. Yes, it is disgusting in places, but it means to be, and it does it to an expert standard, and it's clever, it's funny, there's social commentary as well. I mean, you know, no one else could pull this off.
Yeah. Despite it feeling amateur,
Yeah,
it's not amateur at all.
exactly. And the same can be said for many films around that time. Night of the Living Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
Black Christmas. These films are clearly made on a low budget, but they're still masterpieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you would like to check out Pink Flamingos, it is available on Blu-ray as part of the Criterion Collection. What a release this was.
Yeah, literally came out this month.
Today?
Well,
I mean, we're recording today.
Don't give it away.
You're listening on a Tuesday.
But yeah, July. It came out a little earlier in America, but Criterion Collection.
Where it belongs.
Where it belongs. I hope to see all of John Waters. I think they're slowly getting there.
Yeah.
Female Trouble is and Polyester are both on Criterion. Multiple Maniacs. So we might get Pekka in the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can buy it for a good price for a fantastic film. You're not really going to get it available anywhere else in the UK. So I fully recommend.
You get Divine Trash on the special features.
Divine Trash, great documentary. You get commentaries. We're not sponsored by Criterion.
No, we're not. But this
might want to.
But
that would be good, wouldn't it?
Waiting for a long time to get this released in the UK.
Absolutely.
And this is such a relief. Even the packaging, everything about it, the transfer of the film, cleaned up, but still looked grainy. Just get this release. If you are curious after listening to this episode, or if you're a fan of the film, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another new feature we're going to include, and this is our last one, is a recommendation if you have seen this and if you enjoyed it, or if you decide to watch it and you enjoy it. For me, I recommend Female Trouble.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I would recommend Female Trouble. Female Trouble is my favourite John Waters film.
Yeah. Do you have another one you would recommend?
Well, mine's a little broader.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend watching all of John Waters' films.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like this, if you're interested in watch all of John Waters' films.
Yeah, it's very much the same tone with Female Trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend watching Kenneth Anger's Scorpio Rising.
Yeah.
It's a short film, queer cinema with a 50s aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Soundtrack is very similar to Pink Flamingos. I'd recommend watching Paul Morrissey's Warhol-produced films.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but, there are queer films, underground cinema, quite similar. If you are interested in porno chic, just watch Deep Throat.
Yeah.
Although, watch the films of Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah.
A big influence, I feel, on John Waters. And also watch the films of Russ Meyer.
Yeah.
We didn't really mention him previously, but I feel like he was a fairly big influence.
Oh, definitely.
Or very similar filmmaker.
Uh-huh.
Russ Meyer was very much a straight sort of filmmaker.
Yeah.
Very much in that Americana, American culture, obsessed with big breasts, obsessed. But watch Faster Pussycat Kill Kill.
Yes.
So camp, so entertaining, and John Waters is a big fan as well. So highly recommend that.
So that is Pink Flamingos. If you're a fan of the film or John Waters in general, then let us know on social media. We are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, and Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazChris92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes if you like what you hear. Like a follow on everything else. Give us a rating on Spotify. We have merch out now. That's a thing.
Yeah, if you want a skirt with our faces on.
You can get our faces on many objects on redbubble.com. Type in Horror Cult Trash Ever. And, even just go to the link in our bio on social media. And, yeah, you can get either our faces or the logo without our faces on loads of random objects. Stickers, t-shirts, mugs, skirts, coasters, fucking dog mats, laptop cases, everything.
Dog leashes, very chic.
Yeah.
The chicest wind chime you've ever... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and if you do get any stuff, then model it and tag us on social media.
Yes.
We'll be back on Friday, where we'll be discussing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for our original versus remake episode for this month. And next week, we will be kicking off our Summer Screams month with a month full of films that you guys have chose on the polls on social media. We're starting with Camp Blood.
Yeah. Okay.
Not as excited as you were for Flamingos?
No, not quite.
Yeah, we've spoke about too many good films. With this and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I haven't seen Camp Blood. I'm assuming it's shite.
But yes, but in the meantime, we'll be back same time, same place on Friday.
Bye.